Hey guys, in this video tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how to use the mixed media Photoshop action. So the way the action works is that you just open up your photo in Photoshop, you run the action and it will create this kind of effect for you. So I'll work through 3 different examples just so that you get really familiar with the workflow and how to customize the effect. So this will be the first example. The second one, I'll open up this photo and recreate this. And in the third one, this photo and recreate this. So I'll put a link down to this photo below. If you want to follow along, you can. Okay, so let's jump into Photoshop. So I've got the photo open here, and there's a few things we need to go through to make sure that your file is all set up correctly. So firstly, go to the image menu, go to mode, make sure RGB color is selected and 8-bit channel is also selected. Next, go to image size and check the size of your photo. Okay. You can see the size of mine here, 2000 by 3000. Now a good range for this action is to work anywhere between say 2500 pixels up to 5000 pixels. If your photo is quite small, say between 1000 to 2000, scale it up between, to around 3000 pixels, okay? You'll get a much better result if you scale your photo up to a high resolution, okay? So I'm going to click OK there. Now what we need to do is load the brushes and the patterns that were included in the download. So to do that, what we need to do is hit B on the keyboard. That'll activate the brush tool here, okay? You want to right click anywhere over your photo, okay? And that will bring up the brushes panel. So what you want to do here is either load the brushes into your existing stack of brushes or replace them. Now I'm just going to replace all these because I don't need them. So I'm going to click on this icon here. Go to replace brushes and select the mixed media brushes file, okay, and you'll see these are all the brushes that I've included in the download. There's 184 of them. All right, now what we need to do next is load up the patterns that were included in the download. So if you hit G on the keyboard or go to the paint bucket tool here, top left hand corner, click on this drop down menu. Foreground might already be selected, so click on that and go to pattern. Click on this arrow here, and these are the patterns, right? These are just the default Photoshop patterns. So what I need to do here is, again, either replace them or just load them into the existing stack. So I can click on this icon and go to replace patterns and select the mixed media patterns file. Double click on that, and that will appear here. Now, another quick way to load up the brushes and the patterns is to just simply double click on the file. So here I have the 3 files that were included in the download. Okay, we've got the action file, the brushes, and the patterns. So if I just want to load up the brushes, all I need to do is just double click on that file. Okay, and now I'll load in. All right, and that's the same for the patterns. If I just double click on the pattern file, and I'll just go back up to the patterns again, you see that I've loaded in again. So that's a really quick way to do it. Just double click on those files, and they will show up. Okay. So next what I need to do is hit Y on the keyboard, and this step's very important. So if you hit Y and select the Art History Brush tool, okay, select that. Up the top here, make sure all these settings here match mine. So we've got mode normal, opacity 100. Make sure these 2 icons are turned off. Style, make sure that's set to type medium. Area, 80 pixels. And tolerance 0, okay? So make sure that's set correctly. All right, so now what we need to do is load the action. So if we go to Window, Actions, the Actions panel will pop up. Click on this icon here and go to Load Actions. Select the Mixed Media action and it will show up here. So when you've loaded up the action, it'll come inside this folder here called Mixed Media by Sevenstyles. So you can just open that folder. And here is the action here. You don't need to touch these 2. This is the one that you want to play. You also cannot rename this folder here, otherwise the action will break. So just select the mixed media action and click play. Oops, click play. And the first 30 seconds of the action will create a painted look over your photo. And then we will get to a pop-up window. So I will just fast forward the video to get to that stage. Okay, so here's the first message that will show up. And up the top here, we've got step 1, brush on detail. Now, I won't bother about reading through all this. This is just for your reference. So what you want to do here is just click on stop or hit enter. okay, and you'll see that the action is paused. Now what you want to do here is start clicking, holding and dragging over your photo where you want to increase the level of detail, okay? So you can see as I brush around, the details start to come out, and you just want to really focus brushing over, the focal points of your photo, okay? Now, if you want to further increase the level of detail, what you want to do is just hit the left square bracket. So you can see up the top left-hand corner here, as I do that, the brush gets smaller, okay? So as the brush gets smaller and then you start brushing again, the level of detail becomes much finer, okay? And if you want to decrease the level of detail, use the right square bracket, okay? So if I turn this up to say 30, then start brushing, you can see how we lose a lot of detail. Okay, so undo that. So when you finish brushing, all you want to do is click play on the action to resume the playback. Now in this step here, step 2, watercolor reveal. So what you want to do here is just hit enter, okay, and again the action will stop. And what you want to do in this step is again click, hold and drag over your photo to reveal your photo in a watercolor look, okay? So you can see as I'm clicking around, we are revealing the photo, okay? Now this step here, you don't need to get 100% right, because you can redo this section after the action is complete. So I'll show you how to do that. Now if you want to use a different brush here, just right click, okay, and you can select any one of these brushes here. Now these first 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these ones here you can click, hold and drag over your photo to reveal. These other ones you just need to do a single click. So for example, if I select this one here, okay, I'll undo this, so Control Alt Z, oops, I'll just get rid of that, I'll undo that, okay, just going to go back to here, make sure that mask is selected. Now if I just click again, it just applies a single brush, okay, versus these ones here, I can click, hold and drag around to reveal my photo, okay. So when you finish brushing, again, all you need to do is click play on the action, and we'll get to the third step here, and it says draw on photo outlines. So again, hit enter and the action will stop. And in this step, what you want to do is again, click, hold and drag around your photo, and what that will do is it will add some edge details. So if I click, hold and drag here, you can see that it's brought on a lot of edge details. Now it's very sensitive, so you just got to do a little short burst of clicking, okay? Don't hold it for too long, otherwise you will create, a ton of outlines. You can erase those outlines after the action is complete, so I'll show you how to do that. So that's all I want to do here, and when you've done that, again, just click play, and the action will resume. So I'll just wait for the next pop-up window, which is here, and it says step 4, adjust white angular line spacing. So what you want to do here is click continue, not stop, click continue, okay? And then you get this layer style window show up. And the one setting that you want to play around here is with the scale. So what this step is, I'll just open up this photo, is you can see up here on his helmet, you can see these white diagonal lines that run through here. So this is the spacing, you can see on his arms here, this is the spacing between those lines, okay? So it's very hard to see here. So if I just scale this up, you can see those lines there. And as I scale it down, they become closer together. So by default, it was around, I think, 11%. Okay, you want to keep it anywhere between, say, 5 and 15%. So let's just keep this at 10. Okay, and click OK, and then the action will resume. And I'll just wait for the next window to show up. So this one here, step 5, it's the same, pretty much the same step as the white spacing. So you can see on his helmet here that we've created those white lines. So next is to adjust the black angular line spacing. So click continue, okay? And again, if I scale this up, you can see those black lines. Scale them down, you can see them coming much closer together. So put somewhere around there. I'm gonna just click OK, then the action will resume. So I'll wait for the next pop-up window, which is here. And step 6, erase unwanted line details. So hit enter or click stop. So this step here is just an opportunity to erase any line art that you don't want. So all you need to do is just start brushing where you don't want any lines to appear, and they will disappear. Okay. Now again, this step you don't need to do. You can do this when the action's complete. I'll show you how to do that. It's just an opportunity to quickly erase any that you don't want. So if you don't want to, you don't need to, all you need to do is click play again after that to resume it. So I'll click play, and then the action will then run through to the end. Alright, so the first thing I want to do here is just collapse the actions panel, and we'll look into the layer panel now. So what I always recommend people do once the action is completed is to collapse all these folders. Now to do that fast, you just hold down Control, Alt or Command Option and click on this arrow here next to the folder icon on the mixed media folder. Click on that, then release the keys, and then twill open the folder again, and those folders are collapsed. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to go through all these layers and folders. I'll talk to you about how they affect the design, and we'll try and come close to this example here. So these layers at the top here, all in grey, are adjustment layers. Things like, you can adjust the overall brightness, colour saturation, play around with the colours and contrast. So this layer here, overall sharpening, if I turn it on and off, you might be able to just see that. It applies some sharpening over your design. Now if you're adding a lot of graphic elements and changing things around, you probably want to disable this because it leaves a little bit of a marking. So you can see as I move that around, you can see how basically creates a snapshot of your design as it stands and adds some fine sharpening. Okay, so you can leave that on or off. You can also play around. If the sharpening is too strong, you can adjust the opacity. You can see it's at 70%. You can click, hold and drag on that word opacity to adjust that there. So overall brightness, you can just double click on this and play around with these handles here, which will adjust the brightness. Color saturation, by default I've increased the saturation a little bit here. You can further increase that if you want, or take away a lot of the color. Adjust overall colors, you can double click on this and you can target the shadows, midtones or highlights, and just adjust the colors there if you want. Just turn that off. Now these two here, if you want to play around with the contrast of your design, you can see again I've got in brackets here opacity, and whenever I've got a layer and it's in brackets opacity, I'm just reminding you to play around with that layer so it's opacity. So you can see here by default it's at 30%. So if I just click on this word opacity, drag to the left, that's 0%, 100%. So I generally like to go back to 0 and then start drag to the right and just get to a level that you like. This one here, it'll affect the contrast in a slightly different way, so you just want to play around with that one. Okay, so let's go down to the bottom here, background color. Let's change that. So you can just double click on that box and pick a new color. Let's just go something like that. Okay, so let's now go up to the line art folder. So if I turn this off, you can see that it hides all the line art. Okay, now what I might do, I might just delete the sharpening because I'll be changing a few things. I'm just going to delete that and I'll recreate that sharpening layer at the end so you know how to do that. So if you just want the watercolor look, turn off the line art folder. Okay, but let's go into the line art folder and talk to you about how this is all set up. Now you can remember that step in the action where it paused and it gave you the opportunity to erase any line art that you don't want. So you can see here on the line art folder there is this mask. Okay, you can see on all the layers and folders I always had a mask. That allows you to control the visibility of what's inside that folder or what's on the layer. So if I go inside this mask by holding down Alt or Option and click on it, you can see there's this little black area here, and that was where during the action playback where I raised that little bit of line art that I didn't want. Okay, so you can do this again. So all you need to do is select the mask, hit B. Okay, now by default when the action is complete, I've already selected an appropriate brush for you to use to start brushing onto masks, but you can right click and just select one of the soft brushes here. Recommend this one here, just select that. Now if I start brushing white into the mask, so if you hit X on the keyboard, it'll flip between black and white. So white, I want to reveal the details, so if I start brushing, I can bring back that line art. If I hit X, flip it to black and start brushing, I can hide whatever line art that I don't want. Okay, so that's a quick way to adjust the appearance of the line art. but you can do that for different sections of the line art as well. For example, if I hide these three, we've got this top folder here called diagonal lines 1, white lines. So this is that first step where you got to adjust the spacing between all those diagonal lines. So that's this folder here. Turn that on and off. You can see that. Okay. So if we go inside this folder, I'll talk about how this is set up. So we have these two layers here. This one called diagonal lines. That's the main lines. Okay. Just doing a bit here so you can see that. So that's that. And then we have the area outline. And you can see that just puts like an edge line around the area where those diagonal lines appear. Okay. And you can change the color of those elements separately if you want. So I can double click on this layer here, change color. Okay. I can change that to like or any color you want. All right. And you can do the same with the area outline. All right. Now, if you want to boost the visibility of these lines, a quick way to do that would be to just select the folder, hit Control or Command J, and that will basically, it just duplicates the folder, so then we've got double the amount of pixels sort of stacking on top of each other, boost the appearance. So you can do that. Now, if you wanted to say, let's just say that I just want that extra bit of visibility on those white diagonal lines on his helmet, nowhere else, what I could do, duplicate the folder, select the mask, hit Control or Command I, that will invert it to black. So all I've done is inverted white to black. Okay. Now what I can do is, now if I turn it off, it's not doing anything because I've hidden everything that's in that folder because the mask is black. So I've hit B, grab the brush tool, hit X, make sure white is my active color. If I start brushing now to reveal what's inside that folder, I can brush over his helmet and I can show those that extra bit of white detail, white line detail. Now, if I want to preview other areas of, you know, say what's inside this, how this folder affects the design without the mask, I hold down Shift and click on the mask. Okay, so you can see that I can get a preview of what it would look like if I didn't have any masks. So I can look around and just say, maybe I want this bit of extra white detail here. Okay, so I'll just release that. I'll hit B again and I'll just brush white there. Okay. All right, so let's keep moving down. Diagonal lines 2. You can see that one there. So this was that next step in the action where you got to adjust the spacing of the black lines. Okay. So again, a similar setup. If you go inside, we have the diagonal lines. I've got in brackets here opacity. You can play around with the opacity there. Okay. You can also adjust the color, like before, and then you've got the area outline. So next, diagonal lines 3. Now these lines are very subtle. If I zoom right in here, you can see these lines here, very faint. That's those. So they just add a little bit of extra fine detail. Again, just a similar setup, except with this one here, the opacity is very low. If I turn it up to 100, you can see those lines a bit more there. So you can play around with that. Again, of course, just change the color. Edge outlines, I'll turn that one on, so you can see that there. So we'll go inside this folder, okay? So you can see these white edge outlines, that's coming from this layer here, white edge outlines, turn that on and off, okay? And you can, of course, change the color if you want. And you can also, of course, adjust the appearance. So I think there's too much white going on his shoulders, so I'm going to select the mask of this layer, hit B, X, flip to black because I want to start brushing and hide details. So I'm going to start brushing here and just erase some of this. I just want to keep a little bit. All right. Then you've got dark edge outlines. Turn that on and off. You see those there. And some extra outlines here. And again, you can change the color. These ones here, you just need to turn on the visibility for the layer before you can change the color. Alright, so that's the line art. So let's move on down. This one here, vignette, if you just turn that on, it will just add a vignette to your design. Just darkens up the borders. You can adjust the opacity of that if you want to make it darker or lighter. Okay, watercolor. So if you turn that one off, you can see you get a better view of the line art. Turn it on. So let's go inside. Actually, what I might do, Might just clean up some of this line art. I'm just going to brush away some of these details that I don't really want. Right here. Right, that's looking good. Alright, so let's go back to the watercolor folder and we'll jump straight to this one here because this is the main one. So if I turn the one on and off, pretty much just hides it all. So this layer here, this was that very first step where you revealed the watercolor. You know, click, hold and drag and to reveal it. So that comes from this mask here. So if I select the mask and hold down Alt or Option and click on it, you can see that that was the area during the first step of the action where I brushed to reveal the photo. Now, if you want to redo this section, it's very easy. All you need to do is select the mask, okay? Hit B, grab the brush tool out, right click, and then you can select a new brush and start brushing onto that mask, okay? Now, what I like to always do is, before I do that, is I create a copy of this layer, just in case I want to revert back to this original one. So to do that, all you need to do is hold down Alt or Option, click, hold and drag the layer down, and it will make a copy. Now what I want to do is just hide that first one. Now I can select this mask and start freely brushing away on this mask, because I know that if this second one doesn't look great, I can just turn this one back on and revert back to that. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to fill in this mask completely black to hide it all. So I want to start again. So to do that, make sure black is your foreground color. So hit X again. Now to fill a mask in black or the foreground color, hold down Alt backspace or Option backspace. Do that. And what that's done is filled the mask entirely black, so we've hidden everything. So what I can do now is select the mask, select the mask and hit B, right click, and I can select a new brush and make sure white is my active color because I want to reveal the layer, and then just start brushing away, okay? Just like that. Alright, and you can be a bit more experimental with the brushing, so I'll just fill that black again, hit B. You can scroll down the list here and try some other brushes. So, for example, something like this, okay, and then you can right click, select a different brush, undo that, and just check the size of these brushes because they vary quite a bit. So at the top here, these ones here I've tried to keep as the largest ones, so you can see, you know, 2500 pixels, and then the smaller ones here for adding sort of extra details. But as you go down here, there's a couple more big ones, 2100 here. So just check the size of the brushes. I'm just going to select, let's go this one here, because I think this was the brush that I used for this example. So let's just, I think that's looking pretty cool. So what I can do now I've created this, I can flick between that and this. Okay, so I can just compare my original one with the new one that I'm creating. Okay, so let's just keep this for the moment. I think that's looking pretty cool. All right, let's just talk about quickly, if I turn this one back on, if you wanted to apply a color tint over your over the area of the watercolor area, just turn that one on, and you can just change the color. I'll leave that one off. This one here will add some extra white watercolor texture into the highlights of your photo. So you can see that there. If I zoom down to his forearm, this area here, just adjust the opacity, so you can see that there. Okay, this layer here, soft background watercolor, and brackets here opacity. So by default this is very low at 10%. So I'll bring it to 0, and if I start to increase the opacity, just add some extra texture detail into the background. Okay, so you can just check that out by just adjusting the opacity. So next what I might actually do is I might erase some of this watercolor around his shoulders, because looking at the original I can see that I've got some of the line art exposed on the shoulders and up the top here. So I'm just going to go back to the mask of the watercolor layer. Okay, I'm going to hit B, and I'm just going to select a different brush, and I'm going to make sure black is my active color because I want to start hiding some of these details. I'm just going to start clicking around here and here, and Maybe switch the brush again. Okay, don't forget to use the left and right square brackets to adjust the brush size. Something like that. Okay, that's looking good. So next, if I open up the reference design again, you can see that I've got these flourishes coming off his shoulder and a little bit off the helmet, and I've got some red sort of paint splatter around the top here. So I'll talk to you about how to do that. So when you're happy with the appearance of the watercolor, the line art, what I like to do to finish off is to add those extra bit of fine details, those little flourishes, coming off the shoulder and the paint splatter. Now to do that, what I like to do is go up to the top layer here, just select that, and for each flourish that I add, or extra bit of detail, I create on a new layer. So I've got control over that one element to change the color, to change the scale, rotate it, etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new layer. So Control Shift N or Command Shift N. You don't need, you can just call it whatever. Create a layer. I'm going to hit B and right click again to get the brush panel out. Now you can see all through here I've got all these little paint flourishes, okay? And you scroll down, there's a lot all down here. You've got paint splatter here, and then you've got a lot of you've got some cross hatch lines and some scribbles. But I just want to add some flourishes first, so I'm going to say click on, let's go this one here, okay? Now to sample the color, what I want to do here before I apply the paint, I'm going to hold down Alt and click in an area where I want to add the color. I'm going to Alt click there, and what that's going to do is sample the color. So you can see if you look down here, as I hold down Alt and click around the photo, see it's sampling different color. So I can just Alt click here, and what you want to do is when you apply the brush, you want to make sure that you're not applying it at the edges of your photo, because if I apply it here, okay, and then then I decide to move it, it's going to give it a chopped off edge, okay? So make sure that you apply it in the middle of your design. So I've applied it there, okay, you can see it here. So what I'm going to do now is hit Control or Command T, and this will allow me to freely rotate the texture to scale it. To scale it uniformly, you hold down Shift Alt or Shift Option and click, hold and drag these corners, and you see that will scale it up and down. So I just want to move this over here, and I'm going to scale it down a bit more. Now, something like that. Now, what I can see here is that the color hasn't quite matched, okay? I want to change that. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that. Firstly, you can just double click on this layer, and this will bring up the layer style window. And what you can do here is go to color overlay, okay? And then click on this box here and select a different color, okay? Or you can just click around your photo here and it will sample that color, all right? So I'm going to click OK there. Now, another way to do it, I'll just undo that, is if I go down here, click on that icon and go to solid color, all right? Just pick any red for the moment. Now what I want to do here, you can see it's created this color fill layer. If I hold down Control Alt or Command Option G, what that will do, it will clip it to the layer below. So you can see that it's added this little arrow. This just means that this layer here is only going to affect the layer below. So now when I double click on this box, I can click around and change the color that way, all right? So I'm just going to move this, say to there. And so let's go through that same process again. Let's add a few more flourishes. So I'm going to select this top layer, Control Shift N or Command Shift N, create a new layer. B, right click, select a new flourish. Let's just go this one here. I'm going to click, Control Command T, rotate it. Maybe something like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this layer here. Now to do that, I hold down Alt or Option, click, drag up. That'll create a copy. Then I need to clip it again. So Control Alt G or Command Option G. All right. Now it doesn't quite match it, so I'm going to just double click there and that'll do. Okay, let's go through it again. Let's create another one. Let's go have a look around, maybe this one here. This is where you just want to be a bit creative and spend a bit of time you know, position them in different spots and just changing the flourishes and see what you get. So I'm going to copy this up again. I'm going to clip it. And I'm just going to play around with the colors in here. That looks good. Let's add another one over here. Create a new layer, right click, and let's just add this one. Let's add that there. I'll drag that up. And that's looking good. Let's just add one more on the helmet. So you can see by creating it all on a different layer, I can go back to it and move that element around separately, you know, rotate it, scale it. So let's go back up the top and let's add one more around the top here. And don't forget there's also some drips here as well. So I can click on this one and just create a drip. I'm going to scale it down. So maybe I want to add a drip there. Copy that up. Just going to rotate that a bit. Let's just add one more flourish. Let's go this one here. Whoops, I've created that in the wrong spot. Now what I did then, to quickly, you can see how I'm flipping through the menu set really fast there. So if you hold down Alt, now I'm not sure if this works on a Mac, but if you hold down Alt and if you look up at the menu, you can see how an underscore appears under the letters, okay? So if I wanted to, so if you go to the edit menu and you go transform, say flip horizontal, that will flip that layer around horizontally. So to do that through the shortcut keys, you hold down Alt, okay, and you can see an underscore appears under the letter E, so Alt E, okay, and then you can see another underscore appears under the letter A, and then another one appears under the letter H. So if I go Alt E, A, H, that will flip it horizontally, okay? So if I wanted to flip it vertically, it would be Alt E, A, V, Alt E, A, V, okay? So that's just a little tip to quickly fly through the menu set, and that applies to a lot of different things. So you can see the select menu here. So Alt S, actually there isn't really much under the select menu, but if you want to quickly access the menu without moving the mouse up there, I can just go Alt S, or the filter menu, Alt T, okay? Anyway, let's keep going. I'm going to flip that around and just add that there, move this up and add that there. All right, that's looking pretty cool. I'm going to now just add some paint splatters. So I'm going to create a new layer again, hit B, let's go down to here and let's select one of these. I'm just going to hold down Alt, I'm going to color pick a different red. I'm going to apply the paint splatter and let's move it up here. Control Command T, I'm going to scale that down. Let's just add that there. I might just create a copy of that layer, Alt and drag up. I'll move that down around there. I might flip it vertically. Okay, that'll do. Let's add another type of paint splatter. Let's go down the bottom here. Select this. I might try color pick this color here. Alright, that's looking good. Alright, the last step, I'm just going to create another layer and add some more paint splatters. But if you go to the brush panel and you can see these ones here, it's quite faint to see. These are very fine drops of paint. So I'm just going to select one of these and I'm going to Alt click color pick a red, something like that. And if I start clicking around, it's very fine, but it's adding tiny little red drops of paint. Okay, right, I'm happy with that. So just to neaten up this layer panel a bit, I'm just going to select this top one and I'm going to shift select these, Control or Command G to group them, and I'll just call this extra details. Okay, save it. Alright, so what I want to do now is sharpen up everything. So to do that, just select the top layer or folder, and I need to create a snapshot of my entire design and put it on one layer. So Control Shift Alt E or Command Shift Option E. And what that's done is put everything you see on one layer. Now if you go to Filter, Other, High Pass, and put the radius to 2, then set the blend mode to linear light, it will sharpen it up quite a lot, so you can see the before and after there. So it really helps bring out the fine line details and the the tiny little paint splatters, etc. So that's it. That I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to compare that against the original. So here's the before, and here's the after. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to the second example. We're going to be using this photo here and recreate this. Alright, so I'm going to close this down and open up the photo. Firstly, I'm going to check the image size, image size. So this is a good range to use. Like I said, anywhere between say 2500 pixels up to 5000 pixels. And if you're using a small photo, say around 1000 pixels, high or wide, scale it up because you're not going to have that pixelation because we create that base painted look, which will just get rid of any pixelation. Alright, so cancel that. I'm going to load up the actions panel, so you can click on this arrow here. Okay, and I'm going to select the mixed media action and click play, and I'll fast forward it to that first pop-up message. Alright, so here's that first step of brushing on the extra detail. So all I need to do is click enter. Okay, now obviously the first thing I'm going to do here is fix up the detail on the faces. So I'm just going to click, hold and drag over the faces here. Okay, you can see it's increasing the detail. Now this is a good example of decreasing the size of your brush to fine tune the detail. Because you can see as I brush over the eyes here, how they're constantly changing in shape. So if I decrease the size of my brush, so you can see it's at 10, let's bring it all the way down to say 2, and then brush over the eyes. See, it brings a lot of extra detail back into the eyes there. Okay, so I might just try 3, so it keeps a little bit more of a painted look. Okay, I'll increase that back up to say 8, and it's brush around the arms here, down here. Okay, that's looking good. Alright, so I'm going to click play on the action to resume it, and here is the watercolor reveal step. So I'm going to hit enter, and I'm just going to click, hold and drag, and you can click as well around your photo. Okay, again, don't forget you can right click and select a different brush here. Okay, but again you can change it like I've shown after the action is complete. Alright, that's looking good. Maybe a bit more down here. Alright, I'm going to click play to resume the action, and we get onto the draw on photo outlines. So click stop, and I'm just going to click around the photo here to add on those extra line details. Alright, click play, action will resume. I'll wait for the next pop-up window. Here it is to adjust the wide angular line spacing, so I click continue. Okay, and I can see the lines there. I'm going to put this to about, just leave it around 10%, hit enter, wait for the next step. Okay, so here we go to adjust the black angular line spacing, so I'm going to click continue here. Again, it's the same step as the white one, so you can just adjust the spacing here. Okay, so let's go something a bit finer. I'm going to hit enter there to confirm that. And wait for the next step. Alright, so this step here is to erase any unwanted line details. So I'm going to hit enter, click stop, and I think that's all looking pretty good. So I'm just going to keep that and click play to resume the action, and I'll just wait till the action is finished. Right, so the action's done, and just looking at this, there's some obvious things I want to change. Firstly, this bit of line here, I'm just going to raise that and a bit more around the edges here. And you can see here in the original, the reference design, I've got some extra watercolor around the edges here, so I'll work on creating those. So I'm going to collapse the actions panel, collapse the folders, so Control Alt or Command Option, click on the folder arrow and then release the keys and reopen. So I'm going to select the mask on the lineup folder, hit B, okay, make sure black's my active color. I'm going to raise some details that I don't want. Okay. Something like that. I'm going to keep these details down the bottom here. Alright, I'm going to go into the line art folder, and I'm just going to tone down the opacity of these white angular lines. So I can just select the entire folder and then just click, hold and drag on that word opacity to the left to decrease the opacity there. Okay, that is looking good. So I'm going to move on to straight away adding in some extra details. So you can see I've got a little bit of a paint flourish here coming off the hat. So I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to select the top layer here, create a new layer, Control Shift N or Command Shift N, hit B, right click to bring up the brushes panel, and I'm going to select this one here. Okay, hold down Alt, I'm going to sample that color, and I'm just going to click to apply the paint. I'm going to flip it vertically, or you can hit Control or Command T to rotate it and scale it. So let's move it. It's probably not the right brush, so I'm going to create another one, something with a few more details. So let's go maybe this one here. Okay, move that up here. I'm going to flip that vertically. Okay, it might create another one again. Let's try this one here. Let's do that and move that into place. Okay, this might just erase this little bit of detail here. So I've just selected the layer, hit E, that'll bring up the eraser tool. Okay, let's add some paint drops around here. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to go down here and select one of these. I'm going to hold down Alt, I'm going to sample that color, click there, and I'll move that up here. I'm going to rotate it again. Let's create some over here on the blue area. So I'm going to create a new layer, B, and let's select another one. Let's go this one here. I'm going to sample that blue. Okay. That's looking good. Let's do some more red down the bottom here. Let's pick another one. So that's meant to be red. So I'm just going to create my solid color. Pick a red. Control Alt G or Command Option G. That'll clip it to the layer below. Okay, so now that only affects this layer. Control T or scale that, move that there. No, maybe down here. Something like that. Let's add maybe some scribbles. So I'm going to go right down the bottom here. Let's select one of these. Let me move that there. Let's sample this red. Let's choose another scribble. Let's go maybe this one here. Maybe there. I might duplicate that layer to increase its visibility. Control or Command J. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's go down. I'm just going to group all these. So Shift click these layers, Control or Command G to group them. Call it extra details. So I'm going to go down to the watercolor folder, and actually before that, let's change the background color. Let's go more of a creamy color. Alright, now I'm going to check adjusting the opacity of the extra paint highlight. So I'm going to drag it to 0 and 100, so you can see that difference there. So I'm just going to use about 50% of that. So this was 100, okay, and that's 50. You can also just hit the numbers on the keyboard to adjust the opacity. You just need to make sure that the move tool's out. So if you hit V, that'll activate the move tool. And then if I hit numbers, so you can see up the top it's 50. If I hit 9, it'll change to 90, 5, 50. So that's a quick way of just flicking through the opacities. Okay. Oops, let's go up to 50. Alright, so I'm just going to check my reference here. So it's all looking pretty good. I'm just going to add these extra details around the edges. I can see that I've also turned on the vignette, so I'm going to turn that on. Maybe lower the opacity down a bit. Alright, so let's go back to the top again, and let's create a new layer. Okay, Control Shift N or Command Shift N. I'm going to right click, and let's select one of these brushes here, and let's start off with, I'm just going to color pick one of these blues, and I'm going to start brushing around the edges here. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer, and let's change this to red. So I'm going to alt click that red. Let's change the brush again. Let's just go to this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply a mask, okay, and I'm going to make sure black is my active color. I'm going to brush black because I want to hide some of this, sort of fine tune it. Right, and then I'm just going to lower the opacity down, so I'm just going to drag this down, make it quite faint. Okay, all right, next I'm just going to add some extra paint drops around the edges. So I'm going to hit B again, I'm going to select one of these, I'm going to alt click that color, and I'm going to apply that there. It's not quite right, that color, so I'm going to change that. Right, let's create another layer, and let's create another one. Move that there. I'm going to drag this up. Okay, let's move that to there. Create another layer. Let's try one of these blues. Apply the paintbrush. Move that there. I might tone it down a bit, so I'm going to just, let's go with that. That's a nice color. I'm going to duplicate those two layers. Shift select those. Hold Alt or Option, drag it up. And create a copy. Move that up there and flip it vertically. I'm going to create another one. Let's go this one here. I'm going to flip that vertically. I'm going to drag that up. Clip it again. And that is looking good. So I'm just going to put these down to the extra details. Of course, you can take the time to rename these something more appropriate if you wanted an extra bit of neatness. Okay, so that's without the extra details, before and after. So it's good to just spend a bit of time and just experiment with adding those extra details so you can really take the design to another level. Okay, what I'll do, I'm going to zoom out and try to scale this up. Whoops, actually no, I'm not. Because I just, whoops. Because it was scaling up these extra details here. Alright, so I'll leave that how it is. Let's have a look. Let's go down into the watercolor folder, and I'm going to just adjust the opacity here. Okay, I like how it's adding that little bit of extra detail there. So I'll keep that. Let's go up to the contrast layers. I'm going to play around here for a second. I'm going to boost that up closer to 40. Let's try this one here. Leave that there. Let's look at the color saturation. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm just going to turn up the sharpening. Alright, let's check out the before and after. So here's the original, and here's the after. Now there's a folder that I forgot to mention so far, and it's the paper texture folder here. So if you go inside here, you've got your paper texture. So if I zoom right in here, you can see the paper texture here, okay? And by default, the opacity is at 30%, so you can increase that. But just be aware that when you increase it, it tends to darken up your entire photo, your entire design. So what you can do, if you want a lot more detail, okay, you can, so if you want to increase the opacity, you can adjust the brightness here. So drag this right handle here into the left, okay, and that will brighten things up. But what you can also do is, let's just say that I wanted that strong extra texture around the edge, but not over the subject. So I can just select the mask, hit B, right click, I'll just grab my soft brush, and when I start brushing black, okay, you can remove that texture, okay? So it's just stronger around the edges. But I'm going to undo that. Most of the time you're probably going to want to leave it at the default, so We'll just keep it at that. Alright, so I'll move on to the last example now, and it's going to be this photo here. I'm going to be recreating this, and I'll put a link down to this photo below so you can download that and follow along if you want. Alright, so in this example, I'm going to try and work through this as fast as I can to show you just, you know, when you're familiar with the action and the steps, just how fast you can get to the result. So I'm going to open up the actions panel, I'm going to click play, and I'm going to wait for that first window to show up. So I'll just fast forward the video a bit. Alright, so here's the step to brush on the extra detail, so hit enter. Now to start clicking around my photo here to increase the detail where I want to. Now a little tip with the area here, if I increase this area to say 500 pixels, what that'll do is wherever I click now, it's going to apply it to a much larger area, 500 pixels. So I just wanted you to keep it at 80 just for simplicity, but if you wanted to, you can play around with this. You can adjust the area to a larger area, which will probably make your job a little bit faster if you're looking to fine tune the detail over most of your photo. Okay, it's just good to have it somewhere around 80, you know, 80 pixels for when you're running the action the first time around. Okay, that's happy with that. So I'm going to click play. I'm going to apply the watercolor. So I'm just going to click something like that. I'm going to click play, resume the action, draw on these outlines. Okay, going to click play, wait for the white angular lines to pop up. Here it is here, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to keep this at 11, hit OK to continue, wait for the next window. Black angular lines, I'm happy with that spacing, I can see it there, but just a reminder to, if you wanted to, if you're not seeing it immediately where those black lines are, you can turn up the scale and then bring it down so you can see it. Hit enter. Wait for the next step, erase any unwanted line details. I don't want to, so I'm going to click play. And the action is done. So I'm going to close the actions panel and collapse the folders. Alright, I'm going to just jump down to the background color here, and I'm going to go from grey to more of a white. And I'm going to go to the watercolor folder and might just check out how this is affecting. I might just turn that down quite low, maybe 5%. Okay, that's looking good. Next, I'm just going to check out the contrast here. Alright, that's looking good. I'm going to go into the line art, go down to diagonal lines 3. I'm going to try adjusting this up just a tiny little bit. So lastly, what I might do here is just erase this little bit of line detail here that's just distracting me a bit. So I'm going to go to the line art folder, select the mask, hit B, make sure black is my active color because I want to hide it. I'm just going to brush that away, just like that. Okay. I am happy with that, so I'm going to check out the before and after. So here's the original, and here's the result. Alright guys, so that's it. That covers just about everything. I'll put a link down to my support page below, so if you're having any issues with the action, just check out that page. I'll also put some links down to other actions that you may like below. Also a link to my entire action collection, so you can check that out. But if not, have a good time using the action, and I'll see you soon.